Dear friends, welcome to the next session for software engineering and designing concepts. So in today's session, we will be looking at the behavioral aspect of UML diagrams, and we will take one sample diagram which is known as the activity diagram. So let us get started. So activity diagram is another important diagram in UML which describes the dynamic aspects of the system. By dynamic, it means that we are describing the behavior of the system. Activity diagram is basically a flow chart to represent the flow from one activity to another activity. The activity can be described as an operation of the system, or we can also term as the function of the system. However, it differs from flowchart in many ways. We will discuss this later. The control flow is drawn from one operation to another, and this flow can be sequential, branched, or concurrent, which means that it will follow a sequence. It may have several branches on conditions, and it has various parallel activities going on. So activity diagrams deal with all type of flow control by using different elements such as fork, join, etc. So these are various representations, and we will be discussing them in detail in our next few slides. So what are the benefits of the activity diagram? Basically, first benefit is to demonstrate the logic of an algorithm, and it will also describe the steps performed in a UML use case. It illustrates business process or workflow between users and system, simplifies and improves any process by clarifying complicated use cases, model software architecture elements such as methods, functions, and operations. Now, even though we can represent things using the use case diagram and our class diagram, which we have discussed in our previous few sessions, however, all of them represents the overall or the bird's eye view of the system. So, your class diagram basically will be representing the structure, and use case will be giving you the bird's eye view of the system, or the things from the user's perspective. However, how the system will behave in interaction with the users and how the system functions will behave will completely depend upon the various behavior based diagrams such as the activity diagram. So the purpose of the activity diagram is to draw the activity flow of a system and describe the sequence from one activity to another, and it will, as discussed, it will describe the parallel, branched, and concurrent flow of the system. Now, the question arises is how do we go ahead with drawing of an activity diagram? So before we actually can design an activity diagram, we have to identify the elements like the activities, associations, conditions, and constraints. So these are the four pillars of your activity diagram, which will be responsible for demonstrating or designing the entire logic. So when we are talking about the activity, an activity denotes a particular action taken in the logical flow of a control. Activity straight away relates to action, and this could simply be an invocation of a mathematical function, alter an object's properties, and so on. An activity is represented with a rounded rectangle. So whenever we are representing an activity, it should be represent something like in a rounded rectangle like this. A label inside the rectangle identifies the corresponding activity. So we can put any type of label here. Let's say that pay fees can be a label. There are two special types of activity nodes. One is the initial nodes. One is the initial node, and the next one is the final node. So they are represented with a fill circle and a fill circle with a border respectively. We also call this filled in circle with a border as the bullseye notation. Initial node represents the starting point of the flow of an activity diagram, and there should be multiple initial nodes, which means that invoking that particular activity diagram would initiate multiple flows. So the starting of the activity diagram is represented using a filled circle. After that, we can represent any activity, which is a rounded rectangle, and then we can use another symbol in order to denote the end of the activity diagram, which is your bullseye notation, or the filled in circle with a boundary. The final node represents the end of all activities. Like the initial node, there could be multiple final nodes, and any transition reaching the final node could stop all activities. So whenever there could be multiple final nodes for multiple different parallel activities, and reaching to any of the final nodes means that it is the end of that particular activity. A flow, also termed as edge or transition, is represented with a directed flow. So this is known as the flow. If you look at this particular representation, whenever we give a directed connection between the two components, it means that it is representing a flow. So a directed arrow will be representing a flow. So this is used to depict transfer of control from one activity to another or other types of components, as we will see in our subsequent slides. The diagrams are there. So a flow is often accompanied with a label called a guard condition, indicating the necessary condition for the transition to happen. Or the syntax to depict it is basically we represent this flow with a necessary condition as well for that flow to happen. Let's say that in order to reach from activity 1 to activity 2, there has to be a condition. So this flow will be accompanied by the label that, let's say, pay fees. Then we have to if we want, it is we can represent it as payment successful. This is just a label. It is not always necessary to represent this label in this directed arrow. So pay fees will be this is an activity, and after the completion of the activity, the condition, which is payment successful, will be considered. And once this payment successful is considered, or the status is fulfilled, it will reach, the control will reach to the next activity, maybe the generation of receipt is the next activity. So the control is transferred from this activity to the second activity, and we will identify on what condition the flow is or the control is being transferred, as the label given here represents the status. So the next one is decision. A decision node is represented with a diamond, and it is a point where a single flow enters and two or more flows leave. So this decision box is basically represented using this diamond, and one flow or a directed edge will enter here, and two or more flows may move out from this particular decision box. We can also represent it somewhere, something like this. So two or more flows may go out. So the control flow can follow only one of the outgoing paths, and these outgoing edges often have guard conditions indicating true, false, or if then else conditions. However, they can be omitted as obvious cases, and the input edge could also have guard conditions. Alternately, a note can be attached to the decision node indicating the condition to be tested. So this entire decision box is governed by some labels or some conditions like true and false, and based on this, the control can be transferred either to true or to false in one representation. Both of the options cannot be taken at the same time. We have to follow just one direction, either true or false. And if we require that there should be a guarding condition for this decision box, that means an understanding point or a label associated to this, so that we understand that what should be the decision of the box, or what actually this decision box is taking a decision on, then we can attach a note. A note is represented in a generic note like symbol, and here we can write down that what should be the condition. So based on this condition, we can execute this particular decision node or decision box. Then merge. Merge is a representation with a diamond shape with two or more flows entering and a single flow leaving out. A merge node represents the point where at least a single control should reach before the further processing could continue. So merge is basically another diamond box where two or more flows will be entering and one flow will be going out. So this is your merge representation. So fork is a point where parallel activities begin. For example, when a student is registered with a class, he can in parallel apply for student ID card and library card. A fork graphically is depicted with a black bar with a single flow entering and multiple flows leaving out. So this is a fork representation. So this is a bar where multiple flows are going out and a single flow will enter into this bar, and this will be taking care of all the parallel activities that will be taking place in the entire system. So moving ahead, we have the join component. So a join is again depicted with a black bar with multiple input flows but a single output flow. So this is just the opposite of your fork. So here we have a bar and we have multiple input arrows or input flows and one output flow going out. So physically it represents synchronization of all concurrent activities. Unlike a merge, in case of join, all incoming controls must be completed before the further progress could be made. For example, a sales order is closed only when the customer has received the product and the sales company has received its payment. So in merge, any one of the condition needs to be fulfilled before we can transfer the control to the next activity. However, in join, all these activities needs to be completed before this final flow could be generated. We have note as already discussed. So UML allows attaching a node to different components of the diagram to present some textual information or labeling information, and this information could be a comment or maybe some constraint, and it can be attached to a decision point, for example, to indicate the branching criteria. So whatever we want to explain explicitly, we can explain using this note, and in the note we can use C1, C2, etc. So the next one is partition. So different components of the activity can be grouped into different areas called partitions or swim lanes. So they often correspond to different units of organization or different actors. The drawing area can be partitioned into multiple compartments using vertical or horizontal parallel lines. The partitions of an activity diagram are not mandatory. So suppose when we are doing a student admission system, so student admission system essentially involves administration, department, hostel, as well as library. So all these different components of the system have different activities associated to it. So if we want to represent this, we can represent in separate sections which are known as swim lanes. And these swim lanes, here the first swim lane will belong to the admin, second will belong to the department, third will belong to the hostel, and fourth will be belonging to the library. So all of these will be basically having different activities within itself, and they are also interconnected. So we will be representing all of this in separate swim lanes so that it becomes easier for us to identify which activity is pertaining to which of the departments. So there are certain guidelines for drawing an activity diagram. So the following general guidelines could be followed to pictorially represent a complex logic using an activity diagram. First of all, we have to identify tiny pieces of work, which are activities. Then we have to identify the next logical activity which are connected to these tiny pieces of work or tiny pieces of activities. We have to think of all those conditions that should be made and all those constraints that could be satisfied before one can move to the next activity. And we have to put non-trivial guard conditions on the edges to avoid confusion. So these are basically the nodes or the labels associated with the conditions. So this is a typical example of an activity diagram, and basically it is representing a order management system, and this order management system has three departments. One is the dispatch department, the other one is the customer service, and the third one is the finance service. So these three are represented in three different swim lanes. The swim lanes can be also represented using dotted dashed lines or a single line as well. There is no such hard and fast rule for this. So when we look at this, we have to identify from which point my activity diagram is beginning. So can we identify that point? Yes, we have this point as the beginning point because it is the representation of the initial node. So once we start off with the activity diagram, the first activity is receive order, and after that we reach a fork condition where two different parallel activities will be going on. So this is representing a fork condition, and once this fork is generated, there will be two different directions for two different parallel activities. One is after receiving the order, it will simply send the invoice and the payment is received by the finance, and once the payment is received, it will simply close the order. So it is basically joining. It is basically joining the operation. So it cannot close the order until the other activity, which is the dispatch department taking care of, completes. So what is the dispatch department taking care of? After receiving the order, it will fill the order and it will go to a decision box, and this decision box will be deciding whether it is a priority based order or it is not a non-priority based order. So if it is a priority based order, it will go for an overnight delivery, otherwise it will go for a regular delivery. After that, it will go ahead with a merge operation, and then it will move ahead with closing of the order. But closing of the order, as already mentioned, cannot be closed until and unless the payment is received. So once both these conditions are fulfilled, the order will be closed, followed by closing of the entire activity diagram. So this is all about the example related to activity diagram, and we have to understand that the three different departments for the order management system takes care of multiple activities within the system, and each of these activities in the departments has to be sorted and represented in such a manner that it follows all the activities or follows all the procedures as well as the notations and symbols, and finally it gives a successful representation of the entire system. So to conclude, this activity diagram is also known as object oriented flowchart. This is because we have to represent it from the very minute detail level. Unlike the flowchart, it consists of activities which are made up of smaller actions, and it is representing a behavior or behavioral aspect which is divided into one or more actions. It uses action nodes, control nodes, and object nodes, and there is also a partition or a swim lane, and it is a high level grouping of the set of activities Fork and join nodes are used to generate concurrent flows within an activity or parallel flows within an activity, and it is used to model business processes and workflows. It is extremely important from the point of representation in various projects or various assignments that are being given to you, as well as in from the business perspective. So that is all for today. Thank you.